Hey, good morning, guys. So we're going to be going over how to recover the fastest, whether it's from bacteria, viruses, injury, pain, whatever that is. We're going to be going over how to actually recover at a very, very high level. So it's going to be a fantastic show, so stay tuned. All right, guys, good morning. Welcome to Wellness Radio. I am your health expert, Dr. Nathan Warren, and I am super excited to be coming to you live today. I got a great show lined up for you. Our show today is going to be all about recovery. Like literally at a basic definition of health is how well and how fast do you recover from whether it's an injury, a stress, or a problem. How fast do you recover? That is the definition of how healthy you really are. And so we're going to be going over how to actually recover at a high level. So whether you're an athlete and you're looking to get some tips on how to recover that way, or whether you are dealing with viral infection, bacterial infection, injury, pain, stress, we're going to be going over all the top ways to help your body recover. And here's what's really great. Even if you're not going through any of those things, we're all going through some type of stressor, whether it's physical, chemical, or emotional. And so when you start to learn how to help the body recover on a daily basis, or even on a minute-by-minute basis, again, you start to change your entire health and the way that you function. So again, it's going to be a super exciting show. Also too, just so you guys know, all the things that I'm going to talk about today and even more in depth, if you actually go to our website, doctorswarren.com, if you go there, you can actually get a specific my top 10 favorite supplements to help you recover from different items. So whether it's dealing with bacterial infection, viral infection, headaches, pain, inflammation, I have top 10. I have that list all listed out for you guys. If you go to doctorswarren.com, you can even see it. And I've also got another special gift for you guys because we're launching our new store that we've created, our brand new store. If you go to our website as well, through the whole month of September, you guys can get 20% off any of the supplements that I talk about again on the show. So doctorswarren.com, go check it out, get my top 10 list. Again, dealing with things like pain, inflammation, headaches, allergies, sinuses, things like bacterial infection, viral infection. I go through my top 10. Again, you can get that for free, and then you can also get 20% off any of the things that we talk about this month in September. Get on it. It's going to be amazing. So, and just so you guys know too, just to kind of be aware, just to put it out there, pretty soon, I believe it's within the next month and a half, we will be reopening our Wellness Academy. So it's been closed for the quarter. We'll be reopening. Man, we've had a killer first quarter. It's been absolutely amazing. We actually just went over this past week, the videos we released for our Wellness Academy. We went over how to completely make over your medicine cabinet and turn it into a wellness cabinet. And I actually went through, almost 40 different things and the reasons why and how to decipher through your, creating your wellness cabinet. So those are the type of things we do in our Wellness Academy. So you can also get on our website as well. And if you want to get on that waiting list, you absolutely can, because again, we open it and then we close it for a certain period of time so that you guys can get the best results within our Wellness Academy. So go check out doctorswarren.com and hang out with us there. Guys, so here's the thing. If this is your first time tuning in, like maybe on Facebook Live, I see we've got a couple great people listening on Facebook Live. Good morning, Kaylee. Good morning, Ciara. Good to see you guys. And so here's the thing. If this is your first time listening, I hope you understand where our heart is with doing this radio show. And it's really this. There's so much information out there, right, about whether it's about health, but most of the information out there is about what we call sick care. And so we want to bring light to real information called health care, true health care. and everybody deserves a chance to understand what's going on with their own body. But also, too, we want everybody to take the mindset and the position that, hey, your health changes are up to you and nobody else, right? But in order for you to take advantage and take control of your health, you also have to have good information that's sent your way. So we want to supply that for you so that you're able to make the changes, the appropriate changes that you need to make to watch your health, just be, as great as it possibly can be. And so that's where our heart is, man. We're here to help, we're here to serve, and we're super excited to do that, again, every Saturday from 10 to 11. So, again, first time tuning in, we are local doctors here in Chattanooga, and that's where our health center is. We're located across from the YMCA in Hamilton Place. There we work with lots of families and kids, and again, we're a loud, busy, crazy office that's so much fun. I call it beautiful chaos. And so we like to be able to take care of families, and it's all about wellness, right? So it's all about optimizing your nervous system and making sure that's working the way it's supposed to. It's about, making sure functional nutrition, that you are getting all the nutrients, minerals, and vitamins that you need to supply your cells. And also we're making sure that you are removing as many toxins as you can, right? Whether we're talking about chemical or emotional toxins. And so we go over those things and we teach people how to create their own health, right? And that's our goal overall. So that being said, let's dive into today's show. I really am excited to dive into this, and really where I would like to start is what I hear about the most in the office. And so the biggest things that I come across in our office as far as like questions about recovery are usually from things like viral infections and bacterial infections. So I'm going to start there because I would say one of the things that really just kind of ekes me the wrong way is that we've created a society that for every sore throat, for every tummy ache, for every fever, we're running to our doctors immediately, right, to have them prescribe us a quick fix for our problem. Right, and so we're running to these doctors, and unfortunately, what we're finding is whether it's bacterial or viral, we're seeing them overprescribe things like antibiotics, and it's still happening. Even though we know in things like the Journal of Pediatrics and other really prestigious journals, even though we know that taking something like antibiotics for ear infections actually drastically increases the risk of another ear infection and kind of drives that boat, and has actually been shown to take listen to this, 0 days off of an ear infection. 0. Taking antibiotics is shown to take 0 days off of an ear infection, yet that is still the most prescribed thing for an ear infection. Or like I had a patient that went in this past week and is dealing with shingles, right? So dealing with shingles, and so you guys know that's a viral issue, right? It's a viral issue, but really at its core, it's an immune system issue, because unless you're immunocompromised, you're not going to get something like shingles. So immunocompromised, went in to see his doctor for a viral issue. And the doctor told him, no, you should take these antibiotics just in case. And I almost lost my freaking mind. Because again, to me, that's like malpractice. That's unbelievable. If you actually understood what is happening to a person's physiology when you give them something like antibiotics, there's no way you would prescribe those things like candy. You'd be very, very specific about how we prescribe them. And when I see it, that doctor is actually driving this whole epidemic of having things like antibacterial resistant bacteria, right? We're having these antibiotic resistant bacteria that are wreaking havoc now in our bodies, things like MRSA and staph and all of these different issues. So all that to be said, that's why I want to start here, because it is one of my biggest pet peeves, is that most of the things that you're dealing with, right, whether it's a sore throat, whether it's a stomach ache, whether it's dealing with a fever, these are all things that you can battle at home. Now, let me make my legal disclaimer here. All right, obviously, if it's an emergency, if it's something serious, seek your physician. This shouldn't take the place of your physician's advice. Blah blah blah. There you go. There's my legal statement there. But bottom line is, you guys got to stop running over to the doctor for every ill to get a pill, right, to take care of the ill, to cover it up, just to increase your risk of greater, worse things later on. So here we go. Let's first start talking about like dealing with things like bacterial infection. So bacteria in itself, right? Just so you guys know, if bacteria and viruses were out to kill us, we'd be dead a long time ago. You are made of more bacteria than you even are cells. We are made of more viral RNA than we even are bacteria. So again, if these bacteria, these viruses were out to kill us, we would have been dead a long time ago. So we have to recognize, number one, that our battle against these microorganisms is not a smart battle, and we will lose if we continue to go down this road. That's why we're seeing this loss already happening. We've got doctors scratching their head, researchers pulling out their hair, trying to figure out what are we going to do to save humanity from all of these bacteria, these antibiotic resistant bugs, and all of this stuff. And we have to realize, listen, there's supposed to be a symbiotic relationship of microorganisms, not only in your gut, but on your skin, in different areas of the body, even within the lungs, within the throat, within the mouth. We are supposed to have a specific microbiome that is a beautiful symbiotic relationship. So guess what? Instead of always trying to kill bacteria, right, we should also try to say, hey, how can we build it up? How can we increase all the good guys to help kind of take care of the bad guys? And so there's different ways to do that. One of my favorite ways to do that is utilizing things like spore biotics. So I'm not a fan, as some of you guys have heard me talk about before, I am not a fan of taking probiotics and taking them all the time. I'm definitely not a fan of that. Mainly because when you look at 98% of probiotics on the market, they don't even make it to the area that they're supposed to make it to proliferate and work. So that doesn't mean that you still can't get symptom relief and benefits from it, because just by taking probiotics, even the ones that don't make it to the small intestine can still do things like reduce inflammation, drop histamine reaction. So we know they still have some benefit, which is why when people take even the least quality ones, can still see some initial benefit. But the bottom line is, if you're taking a probiotic over and over again, which most people do, when I look on my patients' list of supplements that they're on, you can almost always guarantee you're going to see a probiotic, you're going to see a fish oil, and those are like the two things that I get them off of almost immediately, because they've been taking their probiotic, and I always love it. Everybody's got like their own I can't even remember the name of the company. Was it like Plexus? Man, I hear people talk about Plexus, and I'm like, dude, give me a freaking break, dude. You can't even find their ingredients on the stinking website. Like, you may have gotten some good results with it. That's probably because your lifestyle was pretty bad to begin with. And so, here's the thing. I'm like, get off of your probiotic, because you're creating a monoculture in the gut. You're creating an absolute monoculture in the gut. We want a diversity of bacteria in the gut. All right? And that not all bacteria is created equal. So what do I mean by that? When I'm talking about something like a spore form probiotic, spore form is the way, another word for this you may have heard is like soil based. But spore is the form that these bacteria take when they're in our soil. And so that means whenever our ancestors would consume like an animal that maybe roamed freely on pasture, on the grass, and in the soil, or we consume like vegetables or wild plants that again were grown in that soil, we would get these spore formed probiotics that would be on the food that we're consuming. In this spore form, it's like basically this shell that's made of like a hard protein, which, just so you guys know, even it's not even heat sensitive, like to a very, very high degree. Like, it's like if this whole world went to pot, like these bacteria would still survive. Like, that's how incredible they are. But anyway, these spore bacteria, they actually survive the acidity of the stomach, and they make it to the area of the small intestine, the middle part of the small intestine, where they're supposed to proliferate so freely and so readily. And they have an intelligence to them, which means what? They work with your body and actually make it to the area that they're supposed to get to proliferate. And so, again, that is why I'm talking about there's a complete difference between something like a spore form probiotic and an actual, just regular probiotic. So that is one way to actually create this synergy and this great relationship of bacteria in the gut. And I'll dive into that more because I know we got to take a quick short break. But again, guys, if you are local to Chattanooga, you like to come in and see us in our health center, you'd like to say, hey, you know what, I'm sick of dealing with this autoimmune condition. I'm sick of dealing with my thyroid disease. I'm sick of being weight loss resistant. I'm sick of having this pain. I'm sick of having these issues. I'm sick of my immune system being down. I'm tired of wondering when my next heart attack is coming, when my next stroke is coming. Guys, that is why in our office we help you to take care of that. We help you to say, hey, here's a plan to get you well and keep you well, and actual action steps to take care of your health. And if you'd like to do that, you can give Sophie a call. That number is 423-362-5360. Again, instead of $120, it's only $60 to come in and get checked out and see exactly what is going on with your health. 423-362-5360. If you're listening from somewhere else, you can call that same number and we can get you set up for a virtual consult. And that's coaching. It's not a doctor-patient relationship. That's a health coaching relationship. And we can actually set that up. 423-362-5360. This is Wellness Radio. We'll be right back after the break. All right, guys. So, talking about bacteria, right, and how to create this amazing balance. So again, spore-formed probiotics are completely different. They are the way that our ancestors would have gotten bacteria into the small intestine. They actually wait and until they hit the specific area of the gut where they proliferate well. That is why these are far superior than using just a regular probiotic. And so you may go to the, maybe it's your local Whole Foods or Earth Fare or local, grocery store, or you may look at, in a refrigerated section at your local, vitamin store, and you see these probiotics and it's like 400 billion CFU or 500 billion CFU, and it's like, yeah, when you're spending $50 on this product and you may get 1 billion that makes it to the gut, and even those that make it to the gut not really going to be good enough to actually be naturally selective and proliferate in that area. So really that's why I say, okay, if you're going to try to balance, right, create a balance of bacteria in the gut, and you want to do that via something like probiotics, you have to do it via spore form, all right? Spore form. And so that's why I use a ProFlora 4R, and that one's from, again, Biobotanical Research. That's one that, again, if you guys go to our website, doctorswarren.com, you can actually get, again, a list of all these ones I'm going to go over today and kind of get a list of why I talk about these and the doses that you can start with as well and start creating your own wellness cabinet. So, again, top 10, go to doctorswarren.com and you can get those. But the other thing that is absolutely amazing about utilizing something like, if you have, let's say, a bacterial infection and you're utilizing something like, for example, let's say we're trying to rebuild some of those good guys to really kind of help take care of the bad guys. When I say that, it's called being naturally selective. And so certain types of bacteria, specifically what's called HU58, which is a strain of Bacillus subtilis, actually has an antibiotic-like effect, which means that when it goes into the small intestine, it actually helps to get rid of pathogenic bacteria, and it actually helps to promote the proliferation of even other species of bacteria. So that is why it's absolutely amazing. So that means you are taking something from nature that is actually helping to be naturally selective and helping to do a very similar thing that antibiotics do without the damage and destruction to the gut. So again, that's why I love utilizing something like a spore-forming probiotic. They can be absolutely amazing to build up this amazing microbiome in the gut. The other thing that I like to use as well, so let's say we're dealing with something like maybe it's a stomach issue. Maybe you've got, you ate something and you're like, whoa, maybe I've got some food poisoning here. I've got something like that going on. Again, sometimes initially you need some things that are going to kind of stop that proliferation of pathogenic bacteria. And so for some of that, I actually like to utilize something like Biocidin is a great one to utilize, utilizing the drop form, because the drop form is good for the gut. It's not for systemic infection, it's for gut infection, right? And to stop that proliferation. All right, guys, welcome back to Wellness Radio. I am your health expert, Dr. Nathan Warren. And so if this is your first time tuning into Wellness Radio, welcome. Super glad to have you guys here. We are talking about how to recover the best. And so in the first segment, we talked about mostly about bacterial infection. I talked a little bit about viral, but we'll get more into protocol in just a minute. But bacterial infection, I talked about spore-forming probiotic. Again, completely different than just a regular probiotic. Regardless of whether it says 400, billion CFU, or this one's made with an algae outside, super crazy, time-delivered, capsule, whatever. Again, it's not in its specific form that there would be in nature, and that's why I like spore-form probiotics. And so, again, guys, if you're just now tuning in, whether it's on Facebook Live or whether it's here on the radio live on Talk 102.3, again, guys, you can go to drswarren.com, DRSWARREN.com, and again, you guys can actually you can register to get my free top 10 best recovery supplements to start creating a wellness cabinet instead of a medicine cabinet, right? And actually how to start creating wellness. So you can go there, you can register for that, get that free list. Also, too, you get 20% off because we're launching our new store, 20% off through the month of September, so that can help you create your wellness cabinet. And so we talked about spore-forming probiotics. On Facebook Live, I talked about how they're naturally selective. Bacillus subtilis, specifically in its spore form, or another term, HU58. That is fantastic for actually helping to proliferate good bacteria and actually naturally select and destroy some pathogenic bacteria. So it can really help to clean up the environment. The other thing that I like to use is utilizing things like a combination of like bilberry extract, garlic extract, things like olive leaf extract or oil of oregano. And again, some of these things that are out there can be so harsh on the gut. So I like to use some that I know I see clinical results with, and one of those that I see is biocidin, and I see some amazing results with that, utilizing the drops. If you feel like you ate something that didn't settle well with you, or if you feel like you're on the verge of something like food poisoning, can be an absolute game changer that you can keep on hand in your wellness cabinet. So that's something to check out as well. Both of those are on my list on that free document that you guys can register for on drswarren.com. Now, as far as viral infections, let me talk about that for just a second. Viral infections, just so you guys know, when they say antiviral, it's not killing viruses, all right? You're not going to kill viruses. What it's trying to do is trying to stop the replication of these viruses in your cells. So we're trying to pump the brakes on those. So some of my favorite things to pump the brakes on viral infections, number one, and this goes alongside with bacterial infections as well, things like colloidal silver can be absolutely amazing at doing that. Again, just like everything else, not all is created equal. It's like, I have some people that come in, Dr. Nathan, you need to try my colloidal silver. I make it myself at home. And I'm always a little wary of that. I'm like, I think I'm gonna stick to some companies that I know do a great job, that I see clinical, actual clinical results with. So again, colloidal silver can be a fantastic thing. Think of it, instead of thinking of it as antimicrobial, think of it more as it pumps the brakes on infection. So that means it gives your immune system some extra time to actually, mount its own defense. So I want to kind of give a disclaimer about, all of these supplements that we're going over, and when you're creating your wellness cabinet, is this. Number one, any of these supplements are just to basically support your body's natural healing processes, okay? So we're not trying to force the body one way or another. We're trying to absolutely support what your body already knows how to do. That's important to realize, because medications push the body one way or another, and they basically stop the intelligence of the body. There's no, it's basically saying, hey, you know what? This pill knows more than your body does, even though we're talking about literally an intelligent design. All right, so that's what medication does. Whereas if you're supplementing appropriately, it's not to stop or thwart what your body's naturally doing. It's not to, even enhance what your body's naturally. It's literally to support what your body is naturally doing. That is the difference between appropriate supplementation and medication. All right. So I wanted to make that disclaimer because, again, I don't want you guys to think every time you get sick that if you pop a pill, it's going to get rid of this symptom necessarily. It's saying no. It's going to support your body to help, right, down-regulate the problem that's going on. That's what we want to do, support the body. So viral infections, some of my favorite things to do. when it comes to that. And how do you know if it's a viral infection? I like to look at some of the most common things. Like if you're looking at a sore throat, doesn't mean 100% of the time it's viral, but again, you're looking at the literature showing anywhere from 85 to 90% of the time, again, it's probably going to be viral, so you can do some things to thwart that. I have a great throat spray on there that you guys can go and check out that's loaded with some amazing quote-unquote antivirals, but again, they're really there to pump the brakes on the infection. So things like biocidin has an amazing throat spray, but there's other ones as well that I list out that you guys can check out that are very gentle on the back of the throat, and they can knock out a sore throat by but by supporting your body's natural healing processes. Some other things that I really like, things like L-lysine, things like zinc, other things that really help to kind of thwart off viral replication is anything that increases natural killer cells, things like astragalus, things like garlic. These all have been shown in clinical research to actually enhance your natural killer cell production and kind of thwart your body's thwart this spread and replication of viral RNA in your cells and give your immune system that time to really crank it up and do a great job. Natural killer cells, guys, just so you know, most of us are using the majority of our natural killer cells on a daily basis because of the amount of co-infections going on inside of the body, because the amount of things that we're exposed to that are creating damage. And so the better that you can get your body at being able to produce natural killer cells, the better you are at doing things like fighting off bacteria, viruses, and cancer. So that's an important one to actually look at. So again, I have that list on that doctorswarren.com. You can go there, register for that, and get my list. Now, some other things that I really like for viral infections, Olivarex, all right? Olivarex is one of my favorite ones that I think just absolutely packs a major punch in things like antiviral protocols. So Olivarex is going to be amazing because it's utilizing the power of olive leaf extract, but it's actually supported with things that you don't normally find in many supplements that also contain olive leaf extract, like quercetin, for example. Like quercetin phytosomes, those are things that actually enhance the ability for olive leaf extract to actually get into the cell and do some amazing things. So a lot of the olive leaf extract that we're taking on a regular basis, maybe it's in tincture form, is actually not able to get inside the cells as efficiently because we know there's certain cofactors, vitamins, minerals, and specifically bioflavonoids that allow those compounds to actually get into a cell. So I love utilizing something like Olivarex, all right? And so I actually had a couple questions from some patients in the office when I told them we were launching this new store. They said, well, we used to get things off your Amazon store, and everything. Well, there's a reason we're getting away from Amazon. And I'll go ahead and tell you why, because we actually know some of the people who are high up in some of these supplement companies like Designs for Health, other companies like for example Biobotanical Research, and some of these companies like even like Megaspore Biotics, some of those, and Microbiome Labs. And what they're showing is that people are selling their products on Amazon, and they're not even giving them the permission, and they don't even know where these supplements are coming from. So that's why I'm trying to get away as much as I can from Amazon, because again, you are really playing Russian roulette with your supplements if you're constantly buying them from there. So and then also too, I'm trying to stop them from taking over the world, right? No, just kidding. But that being said, I want you guys, when you spend your money on supplements, to get the most out of them. Supplements are no different than your health in general. Literally, if you pay for a cheap supplement, you're going to get a cheap supplement. That's just the way it is. You pay for a good supplement, you're going to get a good result. That's just you're going to get a better absorbability, you're going to get a better result. So that is one of the reasons why when it comes to supplementation, you have to be very specific, and you have to know, hey, what is going to get me the clinical result that I'm looking for? And again, guys, if you want our help, you want to come in and see us, you're like, man, I love the information you're giving. It's just a little bit further than the things that I want to do on my own. I would like to be able to, be guided and actually get an action plan to do that. You can come in and see us in our clinic, in our office. And again, that number is 423-362-5360. Again, that's 423-362-5360. Instead of $120, it's only $60 when you call in from this radio show, and you can grab one of those appointments. Sophie is standing by, and she'll be able to get your information, get you set up for an appointment, and you can come in and see us face to face and start getting a plan that gets you well and keeps you well, guys. This is Wellness Radio. We'll be right back after the break. All right, guys, so we're going over things that help you recover. We went through bacterial infections. We went through viral infections. Again, just so you guys know, because I see a few of you on here that are in our Wellness Academy. If you haven't yet, in our Wellness Academy, I actually went through like 4 different videos, and I went through how to make over your entire wellness cabinet. And so I went through a massive amount of information, and I split it up so you guys don't like fall asleep and yawn and get bored. Like, I went through it and I split up those videos. So if you're in our Wellness Academy and you haven't yet checked those videos out, make sure that you do that, because again, it will absolutely, it's what took like Dr. Rebecca and I, years to make, right, to create our wellness cabinet. We were able to go over that, again, in like 20 minutes in some short videos where I kind of explain everything as well. Now, for those of you that are not in our Wellness Academy, again, you can get a list of my top 10 on doctorswarren.com so that you can go and see that. But so far, right, let's kind of recap for those of you that are just joining. We talked about bacterial infections, right? We talked about increase the good guys, right? Things like spore biotics, utilizing like a spore form probiotics, so things like Proflora 4R. I like using something like biocidin, right? If you're utilizing something for the gut, if you know there's something going on, like maybe it's like food poisoning or something like that, and it will really help to kind of, kill the proliferation of any pathogenic bacteria going on. Utilizing the drops, there's different forms, all right? The drops are what are great for the gut, all right? Now, these are not drops that you should use on a regular basis all the time unless you're on a specific protocol, because they do, again, get rid of things like certain types of bacteria. So we want to really make sure we're using that appropriately at the time we're supposed to be utilizing that. Viral infections, I talked about Oliverax, I talked about L-lysine, I talked about things like Astragalus. Those are all amazing at, again, helping to kind of pump the brakes on viral infection and the spread of viral RNA in your cells. Some other things that work well, colloidal silver goes back and forth, so that's something that can be used on both areas. And again, I like Argentine 23 with that one. Those are fantastic ones that you can use to help you recover, right, from things like bacterial infection or to recover from things like viral infection. And so I also went over a couple things on that free guide that you guys can get about cuts as well, that you can look at, on there too. Now, as far as recovery goes, I have to talk about some lifestyle things as well when it comes to recovering from bacterial viral infections. Number one of my favorite things to do in the entire world to kind of revert energy to the body, to allow it to heal, to give all the energy we can to the immune system, is fasting. Whenever I am sick, whenever I'm not feeling well, I fast. And usually I do that in the form of a water fast. And so the more that my digestive system doesn't have to work, which is where the majority of your energy is going to on a daily basis, the more that doesn't have to work, the more energy that can be reverted over to your immune system. So fast, right? There's no doubt fasting is one of the best ways to actually increase your natural killer cells, to increase things like your CD4 count in your immune cells, and to clear out any damaged or old immune cells so that you get some more naive, brand new immune cells and really see some amazing things there. It also helps to reset the balance of your Th1 immune response and your Th2 immune response. Because what we're seeing in our society is so many people have that trade-off where they have, they've stimulated their humoral or their Th2 immune response so much, whether that's via certain types of medication, antibiotics, via things like steroids, via things like vaccines. You've really stimulated this Th2 response, and so you have to rebalance the immune system. That's why fasting can be an amazing tool to actually utilize whenever you're not feeling well. All right, guys, welcome back to Wellness Radio. I am your health expert, Dr. Nathan Warren. We're talking about recovery today. So I know I've got a lot of information, a little bit of time to get there. But we've talked about things like bacterial infections. We've talked about things like viral infections. I've talked about some protocols to do. If you're just joining us now on the radio or here live on Facebook, again, you can go to doctorswarren.com and you can actually register to get my free guide, my top 10 favorite supplements to help support your body through different infections, through things like recovery, headaches, sinus, allergy issues, inflammation, and pain. So you can get that guide. Go to doctorswarren.com. Also, through the month of September, you can get 20% off these supplements that we're talking about on our store. We're launching our new store, so again, we're doing that as a gift to you guys to really reset your wellness academy, so that way you can get all the information that you need. Now, some other things that I really like when we're talking about recovery and when we're talking about some things that I see on a regular basis. One of the biggest things we see in Chattanooga, and some of you that listen on Facebook Live, maybe somewhere else, but in Chattanooga, we see this massive amount of sinus and allergy issues, right? I mean, it's almost ridiculous. Sometimes I joke with patients in the office. I'm like, dude, we should have opened up like an allergy clinic or something. It's like everybody and their mother has allergy issues, and it's like they already have this defeated mindset. They're like, yeah, I've got sinus and allergy issues. That's just the way it is. I've had it for 20 years, and there's nothing you can do about it. But there's actually a lot that you can do about it. Number one thing that I believe that you can do about sinus and allergy issues is, number one, cut out cow's milk dairy. Just cut it out. If you cut that out, again, I can guarantee you're going to see about 50% of people will see, a massive improvement in their sinus and allergies just by cutting out cow's milk dairy. And it doesn't mean all cow's milk is bad. So before I have, some of the people that drink things like, raw local cow's milk, and getting it from a good A2 casein source, before I have you guys jump on me, again, I'm talking about the majority of conventional cow's milk is going to be an allergy. And even if it's, really good quality and it is raw coming from a local farm, but if you suffer with something like sinus and allergies, cut it out and watch what happens. You're going to see your allergies and sinuses start the process of improving. And again, if you're going to consume, dairy, I like to consume it in the form of things like goat's milk, sheep's milk, buffalo milk, right? So you can still get, your cheese, you can still get things like, certain types of milk or cream or things like that, but from a source of sheep's milk, goat's milk, and things like buffalo milk, because they produce A2 casein, which is one of the proteins that's in milk. Everybody thinks that lactose is the biggest problem in milk, and that's actually not the case. The majority of the time, the biggest problem is the casein that's in the milk. And A1 casein has been shown in numerous clinical studies to actually increase inflammation in the body, increase histamine reaction in the body, whereas A2 casein does not. So that being said, those are some things to actually look for when it comes to again, sinus and allergies. Now, some other things that I think are very important to address when it comes to sinus and allergies is number two, is that what I find is a lot of people, especially here in Chattanooga, they already have their own source of mold growing in the sinus cavity. And so this is actually something that even a lot of allergists are finding quite a bit, because I have patients that come in and say, yeah, my allergist said this was going on, and they actually did, some imaging and found like literally a ball of fungus, a fungal ball in the sinus cavity. And so if you have that, that's really where you're going to find a lot of our chronic sinus issue people are going to have their own source of mold actually growing in the sinus cavity. Now, there's some things that you can do to help with that, and you can actually test as well. So one of the tests that we do with some of our patients is what's called a Marcon's test, MARCONS, Marcon's. And so you can actually tell if you have like your own source of mold that's growing in the sinus cavity. And then if you do, you have to start breaking that down. Now, that takes time. And you have to be specific about breaking down the biofilm of that mold source. Like some allergists will actually go in there and surgically remove it. And what I say is that can be good, especially if it's really, really big. The problem is, though, that then they usually tell them to get on something like a very, usually dangerous type of antifungal, rather than saying, hey, what can I do to make sure I'm killing any mold spores that may be left over there, and utilizing some benefits of that. And so that's another area that I would look at if you're having chronic sinus and allergy issues. And then the third one is histamine reaction. If you reduce, right, the histamine reaction in the body, you'll see some major improvements in your sinus and allergy issues. So again, there are certain foods that are higher in histamine. Doesn't mean that they're always bad. In a healthy person, they can be great. Things like kombucha and sauerkraut and some of these fermented foods that can be absolutely fantastic for the body. For other people, if they're already having issues with histamine reaction, can actually wreak havoc and create a higher histamine reaction. Other things like wine and beer and coffee and stuff like that, which again, as you guys know, I'm a big component of drinking really good quality, coffee and teas, and even, some dry farm wines or no sugar wines like Fit Vine wine. But if you already have high histamine reaction, those are things that can create an issue. And so, again, to start addressing the cause, start reducing histamine. What are some things that reduce histamine naturally? Things like quercetin, right, which you find in like citrus fruit. No, don't go out and eat a bag of oranges. You're not going to get the same reaction. I'm sorry. Those of you that think we still live in a world where we can get all of our nutrients, minerals, and vitamins from the food that we eat are not living in the same world that I live in. Because what we know is based on some of these major studies, we're talking about anywhere from 5 to 45% loss of nutrient density, even within our organic food sources. So that means even if you are getting your vegetables from the best regenerative farm near you, the vitamins, minerals, and nutrients are less than they were 40 or 50 years ago. So guess what? In order for us to make up for that, I do believe there's certain types of supplementation that can be great. And so you want to fill in those holes. And so if you're utilizing something like quercetin, again, I like to get it in a phytosome type molecule. So that means it's broken down into a smaller molecule. It's actually surrounded by fat, which is going to help with the delivery into the cell. So quercetin is a fantastic thing. It is a natural antihistamine. Other things that are natural antihistamines, things like feverfew, things like butterbur herb, that's a great one as well. There's other ones out there, as well too, like vitamin C is a natural antihistamine. So these are all things that can actually reduce your histamine reaction in the body, and you can see major improvements in that. Nettles is another thing. So drinking things like nettle, like having some nettle tea, but also too, especially if you're dealing with more of a higher reaction, taking something like quercetin and nettles. And again, if you're wondering like, man, I like this information, but I need to know more in depth with it, go to drzwarren.com and get the free guide that I set up for you. That's my top 10 best ways to recover from things like sinus and allergy issues, things like chronic pain, inflammation. I talk about things like headaches. I talk about things like, again, supplements that help with bacterial and viral infections as well too. So go and check that out, drzwarren.com. Go ahead and get that free guide again, and you get 20% off of any supplements that we talk about as well on our store through the month of September. If you want our help, you want to come into our clinic, you want to sit down with us, again, I would love to see you face to face. Or maybe you don't want to see my face. You can see Dr. Rebecca's face. Her face is more beautiful anyway. And you can sit down with her if you have any hormone imbalance, thyroid issues, adrenal issues. Maybe you suffered with imbalance in estrogen, progesterone. Maybe you have fertility issues. All of these things, guys, we'd love to be able to sit down with you and get you a plan going and actually get you well, man. It's a lot of fun. It's super exciting. And again, you, just like everybody else, can heal and can get well. And so give us a call. Give Sophie a call, 423-362-5360. Again, that's 423-362-5360 instead of 120, only 60, and that includes your full exam, consultation, as well as any necessary x-rays. So come in and see us. We'd love to see you there, guys. This is Wellness Radio. We'll be right back after the break. All right, so let's see. Kelly said, thanks for letting us know to check the Wellness Academy for the Wellness Cabinet. Yeah, I'm going to be posting. I'm going to be doing a Facebook Live in our academy probably, sometime today, just to kind of give you guys a reminder. But yeah, if you're in our Wellness Academy and you're watching this, please go and watch those videos. Again, I think they're absolutely amazing. I spent a lot of time on, really deciphering out what I think is the best and kind of going through what my wellness cabinet at home looks like, what I find really moves the dials on our patients, what really moves the dials on getting them well and really helping them to stay well. So definitely check those things out. Now, when we were talking about like histamine reaction, guys, this is one, how do you know if you have higher histamine? Some of the things that I've found, like for example, I noticed about a year ago that I was reacting to, certain type of histamine foods and certain things that were really wreaking havoc on my body. And so I had to do some things to lower my histamine. But one of the ways that I could tell is if I drink one, like, let's say I even drink like one small glass of something like, an organic, like biodynamic wine. If I drink one small glass, the next day I felt like I literally got hit by a car. With one little thing like that. It was because my histamine levels were so stinking high, so I had to actually work on those. So that's one way that you can know if you have something like a higher histamine reaction. Do you have a question?
Can you do it?
Maybe. I'll have to check with Dr. Rebecca.
Okay, that's cool. If you can't, I'm just going to replay this this hour or something like that, if that's okay with you.
Yeah, I'll check with her.
Or anything like that.
Yeah, I'll check with her for sure.
I just found out Julie's not coming in. So.
Okay, no worries. All right, guys, so just found out I might be doing a second hour. I don't know. We'll have to see. We're actually going to the Moon River Festival today, which should be a lot of fun. If you guys aren't local to Chattanooga, man, come hang out at Moon River Festival next year. It is a really stinking cool festival, full of good music. It's like an amazing family environment. It's just a lot of fun. Anyway, let me get back to what I was saying. Sidetrack there. Histamine reaction, guys. Quercetin, nettles, absolutely amazing with really helping to break that down. Vitamin C, and you can actually get those. A couple of the supplements I listed have all of those in one supplement, so that way you're not having to buy a bunch of different things. But that really helps to reduce that. Now, another thing to pay attention to, though, and this is kind of separate. This is a sidebar. Is that if you're having high histamine reaction, there's actually a great chance that you probably have higher homocysteine levels as well. Now that is a blood marker that you can get checked, right, by your doctor, or if they won't check it, let us know. We can get it checked for you. But homocysteine, it's going to actually let you know, again, if there's any type of damage going on. Specifically, homocysteine can end up, higher your homocysteine levels are, can end up increasing your risk of things like cancer and heart disease and diabetes, right? So we really want our homocysteine levels to be lower, and so you can actually support that with things like riboflavin and with things like methylcobalamin or B12, but in its methylated group, right? So we want to make sure that we're supporting those things as well. And that was a sidebar, but again, I think that that's important to note. And I believe there's one by Designs for Health called Homocysteine Supreme that works really well if you need to take care of that. And you can see some really good results with that. From a food source, things like grass-fed beef liver is absolutely amazing at lowering your homocysteine levels. So if you can take something like that in capsule form, or even better, you can actually eat it. Find you a local farmer, get some grass-fed beef liver, and that can be an amazing thing because it's so high in riboflavin, because it's so high in the methylated form of B12 and B9. Again, it can really help to lower homocysteine levels as well. Now, another big one that I find that again, a lot of people are suffering with and having issues with is things just like inflammation, right? Inflammation and pain. And so I'm going to be going over that on this last segment here, so make sure that you stay tuned, and we'll go over what are some of my favorite things to actually lower inflammation and lower pain as well to help you guys recover.
Before embarking on a new one, visit us on Facebook and ask Drs. Warren for more information.
All right, guys, welcome back to Wellness Radio. I am your health expert, Dr. Nathan Warren. And so we've been going over how to recover, how to get the fastest recovery again, from your body. Your body is absolutely amazing. It's intelligent. It knows what to do. Listen, if somebody ever asked me, like, what's the difference between actually working in true healthcare as opposed to working in sick care, my basic statement is this. I believe, and we believe, again, and also the research shows, that your body is stinking intelligent. It is absolutely smart. It is so intelligent. It does not make a mistake. It just responds to its environment. It adapts, right? So if your body, if your internal environment and your external environment is always bad, guess what? It's going to have to adapt to that, right? What are adaptations to a bad internal environment and external environment? Things like cancer, things like, clogged arteries, things like diabetes. These are all responses to a bad internal and external environment. It's not your body being stupid. It's not your body making a mistake. You have to get away from that type of thinking. Whereas in medicine, they teach you that your body, right, makes mistakes all the time. That it's this broken down machine that makes mistakes. And I want to let you know that is absolutely false. And if you consistently look at yourself in that form and in that fashion that says, hey, you know what, my body is breaking down and again, it's making this mistake, guess what that means? That means you're always going to have to rely on something artificial, right, to just kind of get you by and get you through. And that's not the case, guys. Your body never makes a mistake. When you have high blood pressure, it's there for a reason. It's not an accident. It's either responding to some type of stressor, right, whether physical, emotional, or chemical, and it's affecting the function of your hypothalamus. If you figure out what that stressor is, guess what ends up happening? You get well and your blood pressure regulates. So again, guys, your body doesn't make a mistake. Even in the form of cancer, you don't wake up with cancer one day because you won this horrible lottery. Like, again, cancer is built via, issues in your internal or external environment. Even the 8 to 10% of cancers that can be linked to genes, we actually know the genes are literally affected by environmental factors, whether that's coming via, before birth, right, when you're in utero, or after birth. We know that, again, it's affecting your DNA. So, guess what that means? You are intelligent. You are in charge of your health. You can do so much about that. All right? And so if you want our help, you want to come in and actually take responsibility for your health. For some of you, maybe it's the first time. For others, maybe you just want to continue to stay well and get well. Again, give Sophie a call. Come in and see us in the office. That number is 423-362-5360. Again, that's 423-362-5360. Instead of 120, only 60. And you can come in and sit down and actually, sit in front of us and we can go through all your information and actually get you well. And that's super exciting. And again, guys, if you haven't yet, go on drswarren.com, DRSWARREN.com, and download, get your free guide, top 10 favorite supplements that help your body recover. Sinus, allergies, pain, inflammation, headaches, things like bacterial infections, viral infections. I go through it all in that free guide, drswarren.com. And also, too, if you're on Facebook, again, make sure that if you like this stuff, like and follow our page, because we're always, going over different information like that. This information is for you guys. And I like feedback. I like, questions. I like things like interaction, because, again, this is all about us going on the same journey of getting well and staying well. So, again, drswarren.com or Drs. Warren on Facebook. This is Wellness Radio, guys, and I will see you guys next week. I'm super excited. All right, guys. So I want to give you guys, since you're on Facebook Live, I wanted to give you guys a couple, things about inflammation. Inflammation, some of my favorite things to deal with it that work absolutely fantastic are things like Inflammatone from Designs for Health. Is a powerful, powerful combination of things like white willow bark extract, systemic and proteolytic enzymes, things like curcumin in a proper, absorbable form, as well as some things like some natural antihistamines that are in there as well. So it really reduces inflammation. Fantastic. It's got some boswellia or some frankincense in it as well too. So I see some great results with Inflammatone that lower inflammation, and it lowers it at a high level. So if you're dealing with like an acute situation, you could do something like 2 capsules, 3 or 4 times a day, and really increase your body's ability to get rid of that inflammation. and really drive that down and see some really good results with that. So that's my favorite one, but also using something simple like magnesium, right? Magnesium oil is a fantastic thing that you can actually rub on muscles, rub around the body. Magnesium soaks through the skin really, really well. Something like an Epsom salt bath can be great too. So, for pennies on the dollar, you can actually get a great absorption of magnesium that can really help your muscles and your body recover from stress. Guys, magnesium closes calcium-gated channels. This is so vitally important in the day and age that we live in because of our exposures to things like cell phone radiation, Wi-Fi, these things that we know actually disrupt the function of our mitochondria and damage our cells. It's not an opinion, it's been proven again that it damages the function of our cells. When you do something like magnesium and you're taking magnesium, it helps to close those calcium-gated channels and it allows your cells to recover. So I love using magnesium, whether it's topically or taking it internally. So I usually take something like a Calm magnesium before I go to bed, about 2 teaspoons before bedtime. And then I use a topical magnesium by Ancient Minerals that I like to spray kind of on the back of my muscles, or I will rub on different areas that may be a little bit sore. So we see some really good results with that. All right, guys. Well, I hope you guys have a great weekend. I look forward to seeing you guys all soon. Love and peace, and we'll see you guys soon.